First of all, I really want to thank Peter Monn for sharing your truth. And, obviously it rings true for a lot of us, whether we're actually experiencing addiction ourselves or we've lived with addicts and had to be that support system. So I'm going to cover this to kind of interject on how terrifying it is to have somebody that you love who is struggling with addiction, and that results in a lot of social experiences in which you want to kind of save your loved one and make it so that they're not causing chaos, they're not causing a scene, they're not putting themselves into the grave, basically. Peter's been recovering for a few decades, I think, right? And you also, I don't know if you sponsor other people as well, but you're very open about your journey, and it's a powerful journey, and I think it's important for people to hear it.
With that a lot, but like what you see on camera is me talking to what feels like one person. It doesn't feel like I'm talking to thousands of people, which is kind of easier for me. But like if I'm gonna go to a party with like 20 people, like it's really hard for me. I still have to work through that. I'm so grateful that I've had some very dear friends of mine and my husband and my sponsor in recovery and my therapist that have been so supportive of me through that, because I was really missing out on life. I was missing out on so much because we would be invited to a baby shower and my husband would go, or a bridal shower and my husband would go, or an engagement party, or just a party, and I wouldn't go to these things. And it was a really huge part of our marriage issues that led to us being in marriage counseling, because Alex felt very much alone in our marriage. It was just one of many things, but and so there was actually a Halloween party a few years ago that my friend Aaron runs.
I was trying to look this up because I haven't had to take it since before the pandemic, but I also had some anxiety issues for public speaking, and I was prescribed propranolol. I haven't taken it very many times, but it's apparently an adrenaline blocker.
Or throws her ear. And she didn't understand why I would never come. And so I was talking to my other friend, Melissa, and Melissa said, Aaron her feelings are really hurt. And so I opened up to Melissa and I said, Melissa, like I literally like have horrific social anxiety. And I was like, I think about what people are going to say about me when I walk in, even though I know nobody's probably saying anything about me, but I think that way. She's like, she was very supportive. She's been very supportive. And I talked to my friend Aaron, and Aaron's like, what do you need? She's like, if you got here early, would that help? Like, if you got here first? And I was like, yeah. And so I got there early, and I planted myself in the kitchen with my back up against the sink when everybody would come. It's easier for me when people come in for me to say, like, oh, hey, how are you doing, or whatever. Still nervous. And, I went to that party, and Melissa and Aaron were so supportive of me, and my husband was so proud of me, and I had the time of my life. I had such a great time, and I remember going home that night and just being to my husband, like, I can't wait till the next thing. I'm so excited about it. And the next thing came, and I was terrified to go to that too. But now I force myself to go to things, no matter what the feelings in my head are. And I love when people...
Yeah, same here. I just tried to force my way through it.
Come out and say, there's no such thing as social anxiety, like it doesn't really fucking exist. Live with it and tell me it doesn't fucking exist. Live with it to the point where you're having almost panic attacks leaving the house because you're so worried about your interactions with people and what they're going to think about you. I still struggle with that. I have to always be like with my friend Tanya or with my cousin Caroline or with my husband or somebody that kind of guards it for me. So anyway, I don't even know how I was talking about that. But anyway, so yeah. Now, because of my weight and things like that, now that I've lost weight, I want to be able to wear like some cute clothes, and cute outfits. And I've been ordering a bunch of stuff. I've been ordering a bunch of sweaters from Amazon and buying stuff. And I'm really excited about being thinner and being able to wear some of this kind of stuff and the clothes and all this kind of stuff. I also want to say this, and I'm probably going to do a whole video about it this week, but I had one of the greatest moments this week, and since I'm going to talk about this thing with Jeffree Star, I want to talk about this. So this young lady that I used to know years and years and years ago, her probation officer and I were both contacted by her mom this week. When I am contacted by people's parents or people's spouses that I've known for a long time in recovery, or I've known for a long time but I haven't heard from them in years, and this was the case, is I had not heard from this girl in a very, very long time. I always, if I don't see them in meetings, I don't see them around, I don't know, like, it always makes me sad, and I always kind of wonder, and several times I will try several times to reach out to that person, and then when they don't respond, I don't, just kind of let it go. And so, but I do always try to, find out what's going on with the person. So this mom reached out to me, and I saw the message come up, and I thought, oh God, I feel like every 2 to 3 weeks I hear of another overdose. Fentanyl is killing people out there right now. Cutting heroin with fentanyl it's killing people, and it's making it more addictive, and I've had so many friends of mine that have passed that way. I've had so many friends of mine that have died in prison from different things, and I just feel like there's so many joys that come from being a person in recovery. And so for those of you that don't know, I've been sober since December 17th of 1994. I've been sober now, what's today's date? Oh, today's the 17th. I've been sober, 28 years and 10 months today. Something like that. Anyway, there are a lot of amazing things that come from sobriety. I have an amazing life. There's a lot of sadness that comes too. And I remember my sponsor in early sobriety, my very first sponsor, said to me, if you do this and you make this your life, you're going to step over a lot of bodies in the war of recovery to stay sober. And I can remember thinking that, that's a really harsh thing. And then my sponsor that I have now, she always says to me, make the most of your life, because we all have an expiration date. And she said, some of us don't know it's coming sooner than later, and she's probably witnessed twice as many overdoses as I have. And they're harsh statements, but they make me so much more grateful for my life. But needless to say, I'm contacted by a lot of people's spouses or friends or parents of people that I knew in recovery. And so I thought that was the case. And I know this person's probation officer through personal channels anyway, and I love this woman. And so I was like, this is so weird that we're both being tagged in this message. And so I looked at it, and the mom said something to the effect of, in case you don't think the message that you're carrying is working. And it was her daughter's business card, and her daughter is working in the field of addiction now. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And so I ended up reaching out to her daughter, and we had this very, very nice conversation. She's been sober for 2 years, and she's doing the deal. She's living the life, and it was so cool to talk to her. And I was like, we do recover. We do recover. This shit is no joke to me. I take it very, very seriously. Every 8 minutes in our...
So we all know my little gremlins are some of the neediest, most high-maintenance dogs you'll probably...
In the United States, somebody dies from an overdose, an opioid overdose. It's not a joke, And for you guys that have watched my vlog for a long time, you know that the 2 months leading up to my sobriety birthday are always really, really difficult for me. I remember a lot of really horrible things that happened when I was in early sobriety, or before I got in early sobriety. I was talking actually to another YouTuber, to a friend of mine about this, that there are things that, when you come into the meetings of recovery, I think the first thing is that people are surprised that we laugh sometimes about the stories of our life. Well, when you get a little sobriety in you, it's easy to look back on your life of like dancing in bars, you know, with no shirt on and thinking that was funny at the time or whatever. But there's a lot of things that I did, you know, or saying something to Aunt Judy at, you know, Christmas dinner that maybe wasn't the most appropriate thing to say, like get fucked.
Well, I mean, that's just how it goes with that type of addiction. My ex-husband urinated in my mom's flower arrangement right outside the front door when he was illustrating that he had an alcohol addiction. He also wrote me a letter stating that he was doing drugs as well. And my ex-boyfriend got so intoxicated that he took his pants off while my son was in his bedroom playing on his computer. I was in the master bedroom playing on my computer, and he was watching whatever, probably football. And he took his pants off, went into the kitchen, and tried to piss in the garbage can, but got it all over the kitchen floor. I mean, there's a whole story behind like how we discovered it, how we had to clean it up, how we had to have an intervention, and it just got worse from there.
After something, you know, because you're drunk. So we look back on those things and we can laugh today. You know, we can laugh because we made it out and we're sober, but there's a lot of things that happened to me in addiction that were very, very scary. Some of them I talk about on here, some of them I've never shared. I've talked about this before, but, you know, I had a drug dealer at the time. So for those of you that don't know, one of my substances of choice, my drugs of choice was cocaine. And I snorted it and I smoked crack as well. So I take certain words like crackhead very seriously. Call me a crackhead. I am a crackhead. I was a crackhead. I can guess I choose crackhead in recovery today, but I take offense to some of those words because I think it's condescending to keep people that have addiction issues down. And I say this in a lot of my videos that to make fun of addicts or alcoholics or, you know, to put them on blast. Like when I see the TikToks of people filming addicts, you know, in the wild, and it'll say like meth addict in the wild and be somebody like, you know, tweaking out in a parking lot or whatever. Like I have never known anybody to get sober because they've been exposed and shamed publicly. This is a disease, and it is a disease defined by the American Medical Association. It is a disease that is rooted in shame and guilt, and so to come at somebody with shame and guilt is probably not the greatest way to help them stay sober.
Yeah, I agree with you there. That's why on the last night that I was with my boyfriend and we were at a Reverend Horton Heat concert, and it was pretty clear that he was way gone. And I have a lot of backstory behind that too. But the key moment was when he was standing by the bar and he started arching his back so far back that it looked like he was going to pass out standing up. And I started recording it, and then I pretty much immediately deleted it because I'm like, you know what, he'll kill me. He'll beat me up. He'll kill me. But I wanted some level of proof that this is what was going on in front of my eyes, you know? But I chickened out.
You know, we have a code that love and tolerance is our code, and that we will love you until you learn to love yourself. And that doesn't mean that we don't use tough love in recovery, and I'm so thankful for the people that told me what I needed to hear, not what I wanted to hear, and were tough on me. And, you know, there's this man that I know that has, I think, 42 years of sobriety today, and I met him when I was 6 months sober, and until I was about 22 years sober, I was terrified of him. I mean, literally terrified of him. Like, he would walk out of a home group meeting, which is a meeting you go to every week, and he'd be like, Peter, and I was like shaking in my boots because he scared me so much, because he would say he would tell me to leave meetings and stuff. He'd be like, if you're not serious about this, you don't want to get sober, go out and drink, you know. And maybe that's not love and tolerance is our code, but I needed to hear a lot of that early in sobriety, that I didn't have to be there, that if I wanted to go out and drink and use drugs, that I could do that, you know, that it was a choice for me to sit there, and that there were a lot of people that would never make it to those rooms, that were never introduced to that. There are a lot of people that are dying as I'm making this video that will never be introduced to recovery. It's been the greatest thing that's ever happened to me in my entire life. It is the foundation for my life. It is the priority of my life. I would have nothing that I have in my life, from my husband to my dog to my house to you guys to YouTube to all of my friends to all of my family to watching TV shows to drinking Diet Coke to anything. I wouldn't be here today. I had a conversation with my dad several years ago, and I said to him, we were at lunch, and I said, you know, do you think if I kept on using? He goes, you'd be dead. And he did not even miss a beat. And I said, do you think? And he goes, absolutely, you'd be dead. You wouldn't be here today. I ruined every relationship around me. I ruined every life around me. And, you know, I had things that were horrific and scary that happened to me. Like, I was just telling somebody about this the other day, but I've talked about it on videos before. I had this dealer, this cocaine dealer, that I would go to his house, and, you know, it was a crack house. It was a very scary house. And he and his other drug dealer friends would sit around, you know, on this couch in a circle, and he'd come in, and he'd play with his loaded gun. And it was loaded, and I could see it because he'd show it to me. And, you know, I'd go over there, and if you know anything about using cocaine, it's not a drug that lasts for 2 weeks. Like, you're there every couple hours, you know? Especially if you were an addict like me. And, so I would go over there and, you know, come on, let me, like, can't you front me something until I go pawn this tomorrow and things like that. And I know it's bizarre for people to see me sitting here at 51 years old, in a house on my front porch talking about the housewives and catching up Real Housewives of Miami. And, you know, I got my mums and my pumpkins right there, and I just got done feeding my dog. But we do recover. We do get out of those crack houses if we choose to. But sometimes we have...
I don't know if the two addicts that were deep into my life, I don't know where they stand at this point. I know that my ex-husband claims that he did sober up and became a counselor for the 12-step program, right? But the other one seems to be just as reckless as ever. And fortunately, he lives quite far away from me now, and I don't know what's going on with him. But he crashed. He caused damage to three of my vehicles in various accidents. Well, one of them was my Santa Fe twice. One was an actual DUI where he lost his license. And my mom, myself, my son, we all had to help him through that hump where he lost his license as a result of it. And every time I asked him, hey, have you signed up for that volunteer, that there was like some community service program that he was required to complete as part of his restitution. And he didn't do it. At least not while he was still with me. He still had a few months left to complete it. But he didn't do it while he was with me. And that was a very scary accident. He basically drove up onto the sidewalk in front of a theater, realized his mistake, almost hit some kids, crashed my fender into a cement pylon, did a 3-point turn, tried to get back out, and an off-duty cop ran up to the car and slammed his badge into the driver's side window. That was scary. It was embarrassing. I was trying to be there supportive of him. My son showed up to the theater with two of his friends to watch a movie and saw us sitting there next to my broken down vehicle while David was basically getting cuffed. It was pretty hard. It was pretty hard.
To have people setting consequences and boundaries for us. I think that's important. So we do recover, and I think that that's important for people to know that there are people that are recovering from all kinds of things out there, from social anxiety, from eating disorders, from addiction to, whatever. But this guy used to have me stand in this room with he and about 5 or 6 of his friends, and he'd have me give head to a cocked loaded gun, and I would do it. I had sex. I sometimes pretty it up, and I say I slept with people that could get me high or, whatever. No, I had sex with people that I would never have had sex with. This is something we don't like to talk about in recovery often. We kind of skate around the issue, but I had sex with people that I would never have had sex with if it weren't for drugs or alcohol involved. I said no a lot to a lot of people.
I had a third addict who I was doing a lot of volunteer work for, who was trying to manipulate me to stay working, doing volunteer work for his Our Revolution chapter, who called me in the middle of the night and told me that he was completely disoriented, that he had exchanged oral sex for drugs with a transgender woman who apparently had male parts still. So I get you. I know what you're talking about. I don't know if he was telling me the truth or not, but that's what he told me.
I didn't listen, and I wasn't able to protect myself because of the state that I was in. I put myself in very dangerous situations. I slept behind houses. I slept in cars. I slept in front yards. I slept on porches of people's houses that I had no clue who they were, and I would wake up and have no idea what neighborhood I was in. No way to get home. We didn't have Uber back in those days. Hell, we didn't even have cell phones back in those days. I slept in a dumpster one time out of fear. Woke up, I was a blackout drinker on top of using drugs. I had no idea what happened to me. I take it very seriously. If but for the grace of God, there go I wouldn't be here today. And I'm not a religious person, I'm a spiritual person. I think that's important to note. I think that religion is for people that are afraid of going to hell, and spirituality is for people that have already been there, and I've been to hell. I've lived it. That's why it's very important for me to talk about recovery on my channel, and no matter however you get sober. You don't have to work a 12-step program to get sober. There are a lot of different ways for people to get sober today out there, and if you are somebody out there that's struggling, your life can be saved. You too can have a life like mine. I was about 6 months sober, 3 months sober, and I was listening to this lead, which is a story that we tell in sobriety about our lives and what happened, how we got there, and where we're at now. And I can remember listening to this guy's story, and I thought, man, this is so fucking boring. I cannot get down with these Christian folk, okay, that are talking all biblical, and their lives are so boring. And there are some other things. I was going out to dinner every night at Denny's, after meetings, and thank God I had, look back on that, people were willing to buy me cups of coffee and cheeseburgers. I didn't have the money for that kind of stuff, and people were so gracious to me. And I was so ungrateful. I thought, this is so boring. What is this life? And I'll never forget, I was sitting in this meeting. I can see the meeting where it was. It was in this big auditorium in this treatment center. And I sat in this meeting, and I thought to myself, okay, God, if this is what you have for me, if this is the boring-ass life that you want for me, then I'll do this. But this is going to be the foundation for me having an amazing life, amazing relationships in my life. I mean, kind of this deal, you know, with God to some degree. And I was like, I'm gonna have amazing friends in my life. I'm gonna have amazing family in my life. I'm gonna have amazing experiences in my life. I'm gonna have a life beyond my wildest dreams if I'm gonna do this. Today I have a life beyond my wildest dreams. It may seem very simple to a lot of people, but I'm here. I'm still here. I do not take jokes about drugs and alcohol lightly in any way whatsoever. And when you're a grown fucking adult that's 37 years old, that's the age of my husband, I definitely do not take them lightly, okay? And when they are to pull drama and attention, I think you're a real sicko, is what I think. I think Jeffree Star is a real sicko, okay? So let's get into this video. So part of the reason why I'm making this video tonight...
Okay, so I'm not going to do the Jeffree Star part of it because I'm getting a little sick of this incredibly toxic group of live streamers that all seem to have either pedophile problems or anorexia problems or drug problems or whatever it may be. But I'm kind of getting sick of covering that bullshit. So I just felt like Peter's retelling of his sobriety story is very endearing and real and heartfelt, and I wish him the best. He's only 2 years older than me from one of the other live streams when he stated his age was 51. I'm 49, Peter. I'm so proud of you, man. So proud of you for doing what you've done and, you know, for moving on. And yeah, you do kind of jump across the page a lot. But that was a really heartfelt story to throw into this one.